You're sitting there going, hold on, I'm doing everything. I'm working my ass off. Why am I not where I want to be? Why am I not getting paid what I deserve? Why am I not more recognized? Why am I getting praised? And it's because we are not good at visibility and self-advocacy. My name's Tas. I'm a woman. I'm brown. I grew up in Birmingham. I was raised by a single mum on free school meals. I've spent the last few years navigating corporate exec life. And what I've learned over the years is there is a set of corporate rules nobody is saying out loud. And that's why I created this podcast. This space is for us to unpack those rules and to help you figure out how you want to navigate the system and engage with it. I would love for you to follow on Office Real Talk on Instagram or TikTok and subscribe on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts so we can get more of us listening and winning in the corporate world. Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Office Real Talk with Tas. Today, we are going to talk about visibility and self-advocacy. These are two hills I will die on, and they are absolutely interlinked, but different. Let me get into it. So many of us will be working really, really hard. We'll be putting so much effort in, putting the hours in, and wondering why we're not getting ahead. And it's because, well, there's a million reasons, but one of the big reasons is because we are not good at visibility and self-advocacy. And when I say we, women, minorities, and people from low-income backgrounds. Now, let me break it down. Most of us were taught to keep our heads down, to stay out of trouble. We were told to be humble. Definitely in my family growing up, it was like, humility is like really rewarded. You should never brag. You should never show off about what you got. You should not look too fancy. You should be really, really careful about, I don't know how many people believe in it, but evil eye. If you have nice things or you're doing so well, people won't like it. A lot of people that I grew up with, if they had nice things, it was like, make sure you protect that. Make sure you it's sacred. Everybody should know about it. Keep good news to yourself. So those kind of beliefs and that kind of mentality definitely in kind of my culture and how I was growing up made me think that actually I can't talk about success. I can't talk about how well I'm doing. I still feel weird when I go to family weddings and extended family weddings and I take my nice handbag out. Or I still feel weird when people see my watch and they'll talk about my watch or my rings or anything that I have worked so hard for, that I have bought for myself, that I have earned every penny for. I am full no handout gang, right? Not one thing in my life has been a handout, from the houses, from the jewelry to anything. But yet I will feel nervous because it might seem braggy, because it might make my success more visible. And that is because it has been ingrained in me since I was young. That is the same energy that a lot of us take into work. The other thing is, so many of us will just sit there and hope that someone notices what we're doing. It's very British as well. Just think about the example, right? And it's one of my favourite examples. If you say to a British person, oh, I love that dress, or I love that coat. Oh, it's only 20 quid from Primark. Or, I picked it up for 40 quid in the M&S sale. Very, 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 very rarely in my life do I ever hear a British person going, oh, thanks. It's not what we do. Americans, yes, they do. Do we do that? No. There's a little bit of, if somebody says something good, I must play it down. And I think that is so interesting. I just thought about another one. I remember going to my friend's house, right? And I was like, oh my God, this is so nice. Well done. Congratulations. You guys have absolutely smashed it buying this house. It's the first time I went to see it. She was like, oh, it's nothing special. I was like, bruv, this is so special. It's such a nice house. It's nothing special. It's a bit small. Oh, we don't have a toilet downstairs. Our kitchen's that's how we show up. And it is just so mental that we are still like that. So let's bring it back. That's what happens at work then. That energy that we have learned, whether that comes from our, kind of heritage cultures or our British culture or just how we've been raised, especially women, we don't show up with that, that elbows out kind of energy. We show up with, almost just so humble that I play down things. At work, we don't showcase our work to other people. Therefore, we don't create visibility. That's the first thing. The second thing is we do not fight or advocate for ourselves. For the things that we want, we don't talk about them. And the third belief is that we think if my manager knows, my manager, the be all and end all of my life, if they know, that is enough. Wrong, 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 and wrong. Lots of wrong. Let's start with your visibility. That is not your manager's responsibility. Your career is not your manager's responsibility. They do not have a plan for your career. They care about your career, but guess whose career they care about more? Their own. And that's not them being selfish or a bad manager. Everyone cares about their situation more than anyone else's. If your manager got an offer from another country, if your manager got another offer from another organization, if your manager got a better offer internally, they're going to take it. They're not going to think about, do I need to take Taz with me? Or I wonder what will happen to Taz. They might think about that as a secondary thought, but not as a primary thought. They are not on the hook for making you go further. So visibility comes from showcasing your work. It's not about working harder. It's about working differently. Let's break it down. I can think about some of the most talented people I know who are silently, absolutely grafting away, but their manager doesn't know how to get them more visibility. They also don't know how to get themselves more visibility. When you do really great work, here's 3 or 4 ways you can be more visible without it feeling cringe or awkward, but you absolutely need to do them to step into your power and get what you deserve. You can start with, based on the goals that we set out for this week, this quarter, this month. I wouldn't leave it quarterly because it's too far. Here's what we've delivered. Here's what I've delivered. Here's what my team's delivered. Do it as an email if you can't talk about it. That's the first thing you can do. It's really simple, an end of week update. Wanted to update you all on the progress we've made towards X this week. It's a really simple one. Second thing is, when there is meetings or presentations happening about the work that you're doing, ask, when's that meeting? Who's going to be there? Can I attend? I'd love to present my work. That's a really good thing to do. The third thing is, there might not be an opportunity to present your work. There could be just a session happening where lots of people are talking about the next steps, the strategy. Ask if you can attend. Ask if you can listen in. Say you'd like to see how the conversation unfolds. You'd like to hear about it. What happens is that puts you in the room. People notice you're there. And the fourth thing is, and this is a really big one, speak up. Literally speak up. Speak up in meetings. My worst bugbear, and I hear this so much from people all the time, and some of the most talented women I know say this, and it really, really grates on me. I'm not just going to talk for the sake of it in meetings. I'm only going to talk if I've got something to say. What does that even mean, please? What does that even mean, please? Nobody talks for the sake of it. I guarantee you that there are going to be scenarios when you're in a meeting and you have got something to say, but you don't say it because you overthink it. You don't say it because you're like, oh, what if I sound stupid? You don't say it because you're like, oh, I think someone else kind of said that already. And that's really annoying because what's happening is you are talking yourself out of being visible. If you have a perspective, even sometimes if that is that you don't have a perspective, but it's made you think about something, you should talk about it. So let me give you a couple of examples. There's a meeting with 6 people. There's always that one person who talks. There's always the 2 people that never talk. And then there's a few in between that talk sometimes. Let's say someone has a really strong opinion. Let's say the other person has the opposite opinion. And let's say you're a bit indifferent and you can see both sides. If you're the kind of person that's indifferent, if you're a little bit more reflective, if you're a little bit more kind of, maybe even introverted, right? You might say, I don't want to speak up. But actually what you could do is say, actually, I can see both sides of that argument. I really, really get why we would do it. And I also see some of the risks with doing it. What it has made me think about, though, is what it's actually made me reflect on is we've tried this before. And there's some lessons we could learn to inform where we go next. I had a similar situation in my old team. I had a similar situation in my old job, etc. That then could bring forward a point of view that gives you credibility, that gives you and your peers, your manager, people around you, whoever is in that meeting, your perspective. It gives you a voice. That's so important to do. If you think visibility stops at your manager, that is the worst thing you can assume. Decisions about you are not made solely by your manager. Decisions are made in rooms where other people are present. Every room that I sit in, where I talk about my team or I talk about people, doesn't just have me in there. It has my peers in there. It has my manager in there. HR might be in there. Other people are in the room when decisions and conversations about your career are happening. So if you think that your manager knowing what you do and what you bring to the table and being visible only to them is going to be enough, it's not. That is a corporate rule nobody says out loud. And in my lived experience as an exec in corporate, having sat in those rooms for many, many years, I can tell you that that is a mistake if you put everything on your manager. Self-advocacy is different to visibility. That is when you advocate for yourself. And what do I mean by that? That is the energy that you show up with. So visibility is about your work and how you get it more noticed. And when you're in meetings and when you go to spaces and places where, you can be on show. Self-advocacy is how you vouch for yourself. It's how you ask for the things that you deserve. So self-advocacy is about saying, I believe that I should be in that conversation. I think it would be great if I presented this work. Having led the task, it would be great if I could go and talk about it. I think I have been working on this project for a number of months. When we do the full review, it is only right that I am in the conversation and presenting the work to your boss, to my peers, etc. It is about speaking up for yourself. Visibility is about what others see. Self-advocacy is about what you say about yourself to get yourself there. It's also about how you talk about yourself. It's how you talk about your outcomes. It's saying, I've been delivering these things. I'm really proud of my performance so far. I think we'd both agree that I've hit a number of these goals and I'd love to get that in front of more people. How do we go about doing that? How do we go about sharing this work? What's the best way to showcase that? Ask if you can present it, etc. on those calls, on those meetings. But you have to advocate for yourself. Nobody is out there advocating for you. I know so many people who are brilliant, who could be further, had they advocated for themselves earlier, had their bosses advocated for themselves earlier. And if you're not going to self-advocate for yourself, that just means that you're expecting your manager to be in control of your career and your visibility. And those two things aren't going to happen. Self-advocacy means talking about yourself and speaking up about your achievements, and visibility means getting them in front of other people. Those two things need to happen in sync and together. The less visible you are and the less you advocate for yourself, the more opportunity there is for people who are less capable than you to get ahead, not because they are better than you, not because they are more competent, but because they are being seen. And that's when we see mediocrity rise and talent stall. So what I want you to think about is, where are you staying quiet? Where do you know that you're excelling? Who should know about it? How do you want to tell them in a way that feels comfortable for you? It will definitely feel a little bit uncomfortable, by the way, but in a way that feels true to you. How much are you relying on your manager to move you forward and accelerate your career? How much are you hoping or trusting that your manager's plan is going to become the plan that accelerates your career forward? And what beliefs are you holding on to that are ingrained in you about being humble, about playing down your achievements, about not oversharing, that are keeping you stuck and keeping you where you are? And what do you need to do to unlearn them? And unlearning doesn't just happen. You have to practice it. So what can you do to start practicing ASAP and make this a habit? Every time you downplay your work, every time you shrink when you could be visible, every time you don't ask for what you deserve, every time you don't advocate to be in rooms where decisions are made, where work gets showcased, where people are paraded, you further push that narrative that people like us, people like me, people like you, shouldn't be in positions of power, in those rooms, in successful roles. Remember, the system could treat us differently and make space for us, but it's not going to. So we have to learn how we want to engage with it. And that means showing up differently for ourselves, because we know what we deserve. We've just got to go and get it. I hope you've enjoyed listening today, and this has been a lesson in what we can do to really break and shatter those glass ceilings that people have imposed on us. Thank you.